Hey, can I ask you something real for a second? When was the last time you actually felt wanted? Not because of how you look, not because of what you can give, but because she genuinely desired you? I'm not talking about that surface level interest that fades after a few texts or a quick compliment. I mean that quiet, powerful pull where she leans closer when you talk, where her body language shifts and you just know she's into you. If it's been a while, or if it's never happened, don't worry. This conversation is exactly what you need. Because here's the thing, most men don't actually understand what turns a woman on. They think it's money, muscles, or looks. And sure, those things catch attention, but they don't hold it. What really attracts a woman isn't what she sees, it's what she feels when she's around you. This isn't about manipulation, tricks, or trying to hack attraction. It's about psychology, understanding the hidden emotional patterns that light up her brain and make her associate you with desire, comfort, and mystery all at once. And here's where most men get it wrong. They keep chasing physical attraction while completely ignoring psychological attraction, the kind that makes a woman think about you long after the conversation ends. Now, before we go further, let's get brutally honest. If you've ever felt invisible around women, if you've watched her laugh at another guy's jokes, if you've felt that sting of being just a friend while someone else gets her attention, it's not because you're not enough. It's because you've been playing the wrong game. Women are emotional creatures, not logical checklists. Their attraction doesn't follow straight lines. It's subtle, layered, unpredictable, but it's not impossible to understand. The moment you stop trying to impress her and start triggering the emotions that matter, everything changes. You see, the male brain and the female brain are wired differently. Research in social psychology shows that women are far more responsive to emotional cues than visual ones. While a man's attraction can spike from what he sees, a woman's attraction builds through how she feels. That's why confidence, tone of voice, presence, and energy play a far bigger role than a six-pack ever could. But don't misunderstand that. This isn't about being fake or playing alpha. That's the trap most men fall into, acting confident instead of being confident. Real attraction happens when a man understands himself so deeply that he doesn't need validation. And ironically, that's exactly what makes women drawn to him. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down 6 psychological triggers that women respond to, often without realizing it. Each one will sound simple, but when you understand the emotion behind it, it'll change how you see connection, confidence, and even conversation. We're not talking about textbook psychology. We're talking about human nature, the instincts and emotional shortcuts that have been there for thousands of years. And I'll warn you, some of what you're about to hear might challenge what you've been taught. It might even make you a little uncomfortable because we've been raised in a world that tells men to chase approval instead of developing presence. But here's the truth. When you understand what genuinely turns a woman on psychologically, you stop chasing and start attracting. You become the calm in her chaos, the mystery she wants to solve, the man she chooses, not the man she tolerates. So if you've ever wondered why women say, "I just didn't feel a spark," even when you did everything right, this video will show you what that spark really is and how to create it without pretending to be someone you're not. Because attraction isn't built on perfection. It's built on psychology. And by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly how to use it. Not to play games, but to finally connect on a level that most men never reach. Let's get started. 1. The power of emotional security. Let me tell you something that most men completely overlook. The number one thing that turns a woman on isn't your looks, your car, or even your charm. It's how safe she feels around you. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, safe? That sounds boring. Let me explain. Emotional security isn't about being soft, weak, or overly accommodating. It's about creating an environment where she can relax her guard. Because when a woman's guard drops, attraction rises. Let's start with this simple question. Why do you think women open up more easily to some men than others? Why can one guy say almost nothing, yet she finds herself talking for hours, smiling, leaning in, while another guy with better looks gets short answers and polite smiles? It's emotional safety. See, when a woman meets a man, her brain isn't just evaluating how he looks. It's scanning for emotional cues. Subconsciously, she's asking herself, can I be myself around him? Will he judge me if I show vulnerability? Does he actually listen? Or is he just waiting for his turn to talk? If the answer to those questions is yes, I feel seen, I feel safe, she relaxes. And once she relaxes, she starts to feel. And when she starts to feel, desire begins. Here's where psychology backs it up. Research in emotional neuroscience shows that a woman's limbic system, the emotional part of the brain, is more active than a man's. It processes tone, body language, and emotional intention much faster. That means she doesn't just hear your words, she feels your energy behind them. So when you're nervous, insecure, or trying too hard to impress her, she feels it instantly. Not because she's reading your mind, but because her brain is wired to pick up those subtle cues. It's why confidence feels magnetic and desperation feels repelling. Now, let's make this real. Think about a time you were talking to someone who made you feel completely comfortable. You didn't have to overthink your words, you weren't on edge, you were just you. That's the exact feeling women crave with men. When she feels like she can drop her guard and still be respected, her attraction for you multiplies. But here's the catch. Emotional safety doesn't come from what you say. It comes from who you are when you say it. You can't fake calmness, you can't fake confidence, and you definitely can't fake presence. Women notice when your words and your energy don't match. It's like emotional static in the air. For example, you could tell her, you can talk to me about anything. But if your body language is tense, your tone is sharp, or your eyes are darting around, her subconscious says, no, I can't. On the other hand, if you're grounded, still, and genuinely attentive, she feels that safety before you even finish your sentence. Now let's flip the script. Why do so many men lose this power? Because they think emotional safety means saying yes to everything she wants. They think being nice is enough. But here's the truth. Emotional safety doesn't mean you agree with her all the time. It means you stand firm without making her feel small. It's the ability to disagree respectfully to her, to be stable even when emotions rise. That's what makes her trust you. When she sees that you can handle tension without exploding or withdrawing, she subconsciously relaxes. Her brain goes, okay, this man can handle me. And that, right there, is the spark of emotional attraction. Want to know why so many women stay obsessed with certain men even after things end? It's because he made her feel safe to feel. She could be herself without judgment. That feeling is addictive because emotional security is rare. So how do you build it? You start by being self-aware. You can't give calm if you don't have calm. When you understand your own emotions, your triggers, your reactions, your fears, you become less reactive. And when you're less reactive, she feels more stable around you. That's when her attraction deepens. There's nothing more attractive than a man who doesn't flinch when things get emotional. When she's angry, he listens. When she's upset, he doesn't panic. When she tests his patience, he doesn't collapse. He stays grounded. That's emotional strength. That's leadership. And that's what makes a woman feel safe enough to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is the bridge to intimacy. So next time you're wondering why she seems distant, ask yourself this. Does she feel emotionally safe with me? Because if she doesn't, it's not about fixing her. It's about working on the energy you bring into the room. Emotional security isn't a nice to have. It's the foundation of attraction. And the man who understands that, who gives calm without losing edge, will always stand out in a world full of noise. 2. Subtle dominance, not control. Let's talk about something that most men misunderstand, dominance. And I don't mean the loud, aggressive, alpha male kind you see plastered all over social media. I'm talking about subtle dominance, the kind that doesn't need to raise its voice to be felt. The kind that women subconsciously crave but will rarely admit out loud. You see, dominance has been given a bad reputation. The word itself sounds intimidating, controlling, overbearing, maybe even toxic. But real dominance isn't about control at all. It's about direction. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows who he is, where he's going, and doesn't need permission to move forward. Here's the truth. Women aren't turned on by control. They're turned on by certainty. Let me put it this way. Have you ever noticed how a woman's energy changes when she's around a man who's decisive? He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't overthink. He knows what he wants, but he's never pushy about it. That calm decisiveness makes her relaxed, and because uncertainty is exhausting, and when she feels your certainty, she feels safe. That's the paradox. Subtle dominance creates safety. Psychologically, this ties into what evolutionary researchers call behavioral signaling. Throughout human history, women have subconsciously looked for signs of leadership and protection, not because they're weak, but because survival once depended on it. Today, that instinct still runs deep. When you walk into a room with quiet confidence, not arrogance, not ego, her subconscious picks it up as he's stable. He knows who he is, that stability feels like strength, and that strength feels like attraction. But here's where men lose it. They confuse dominance with control. They try to force respect instead of earning it. Control says, do what I say. Dominance says, follow my lead because you trust where I'm going. Control is built on fear. Dominance is built on composure. And the difference is everything. Let's paint a picture. Imagine you're out with her and something unexpected happens. Maybe the plans fall apart. Maybe someone's being rude. Maybe she gets emotional. Most men either panic or freeze. But the man with subtle dominance stays calm, steady, maybe even a little amused. He doesn't let chaos shake him. That emotional steadiness becomes her anchor. When you're calm, she relaxes. When you're decisive, she feels secure. When you have a plan, even if it's simple, she feels she can trust your direction. And trust, my friend, is the deepest form of attraction there is. Here's something most guys miss. Subtle dominance isn't about taking control of her, it's about taking control of yourself. Your tone, your reactions, your body language, your emotional state. Those are the real battlegrounds. When you can control yourself, you project an energy that says, nothing outside me can break me. That energy doesn't need to prove anything, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg, it simply exists, and women feel it instantly. And this part might surprise you. Women often test men not because they want to argue, but because they're subconsciously looking for stability. When she gets emotional, distant, or even challenges your perspective, she's not necessarily trying to disrespect you, and she's checking if your calm is real. Most men fail that test. They argue, defend, or crumble. But when you can stay composed, not cold, just steady, she feels something shift inside her. Because now she knows your energy can handle hers. And that's when she starts to trust you. Not just with her words, but with her emotions, her softness, her desire. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're constantly chasing approval, apologizing for existing, or needing her reassurance, you're giving away the very energy she's drawn to. Women aren't attracted to perfection. They're attracted to groundedness. And groundedness comes from knowing your value, even when no one validates it. Subtle dominance is quiet power. It's the way you look someone in the eye when you speak. It's how you take responsibility instead of making excuses. It's the confidence to say no calmly without guilt. It's not about being right, it's about being real. So how do you develop that? You start by building internal certainty. Decide what kind of man you want to be, then show up as him consistently. Don't try to dominate anyone. Dominate your impulses. Don't try to control situations. Control your reactions. When a woman senses that you are emotionally centered, she doesn't feel overpowered. She feels safe enough to be feminine. That's the unspoken dance of polarity. Your calm fuels her softness, and her softness amplifies your strength. In a world where most men are loud but lost, subtle dominance is magnetic. You don't have to shout, you don't have to prove, you simply are. And here's the paradox. The less you try to impress, the more she's impressed. So next time you're wondering what kind of energy actually turns a woman on, remember, it's not control, it's composure. Not intimidation, inspiration. That's what real dominance looks like. And once you master it, everything about how women respond to you will change. Quietly, powerfully, and permanently. 3. Mystery over predictability. Let's be honest for a second. Most men are too predictable. They text the same way, talk the same way, and act the same way from the moment they meet a woman to the moment she loses interest. They think consistency means security. But there's a difference between being consistent and being boring. And I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. You see, mystery isn't about playing games or disappearing for attention. Mystery is about maintaining depth. It's about showing her there's always more to learn about you, that she can't fully predict you, but she can always trust you. Let's start with this truth. Attraction thrives on tension. Not the toxic kind, but the emotional kind that says, I don't have you completely figured out. When a woman feels that subtle uncertainty, her curiosity wakes up. And curiosity is the spark that fuels desire. Psychologically, this is tied to something called the dopamine reward loop, the brain's built-in response to novelty and surprise. When something feels slightly unpredictable, it activates the part of the brain that releases dopamine, the same chemical behind excitement, anticipation, and even attraction. So when everything about you is predictable, your responses, your tone, your availability, that dopamine response flatlines. You become emotionally safe, but not stimulating, and she starts to drift. Now, here's where I have to say it. Men, we've been sold a lie. We were told that if we just keep showing up, keep doing the same things, keep being nice, she'll appreciate it and eventually fall in love. But the truth? Emotional attraction doesn't grow from repetition. It grows from curiosity. You ever notice how in the beginning she couldn't stop thinking about you? Because you were new. You were unpredictable. Every text, every glance, every word, it was all part of a story she couldn't yet read. But as time passed, you became routine. You stopped leading the dance. You started waiting for her cues, mirroring her energy instead of setting your own. And without realizing it, you turned the fire into comfort. And comfort without excitement kills attraction. Now, this doesn't mean you should play games or vanish to create tension. That's insecurity, not mystery. Mystery is about emotional depth. It's about showing that you have a world beyond her, passions, goals, thoughts, and edges that she hasn't fully explored yet. When a man's world feels bigger than the relationship, she feels pulled toward it. Here's the psychology behind it. Women are drawn to men who maintain autonomy. When you're not overly available or emotionally dependent, you project strength. You communicate without saying a word that your happiness doesn't hinge on her reaction. That calm self-sufficiency creates the kind of tension she finds irresistible. But let's get real. Most men kill mystery by over-explaining themselves. They text back too fast. They try too hard to make her laugh. They open up too early, trying to prove they're emotionally mature. But what that really communicates is this: I need you to like me. And the moment she senses that need, the mystery evaporates. Think about it. When was the last time you met someone who didn't rush to be understood and you found yourself wanting to know more? That's the effect you want to create. You want her curiosity to stay alive, not by withholding emotion, but by revealing it slowly, intentionally, like chapters in a book that gets better as it unfolds. Here's something I tell men all the time. Stop narrating your value. Show it. Stop announcing who you are. Be it. When you live a full life, when your energy, your habits, your focus, your goals are bigger than the conversation, you become intriguing without trying. Mystery is magnetic because it implies movement. It says, this man is going somewhere and I want to find out where. And that brings us to a hard truth. If you've ever been ghosted or heard the words, you're a great guy, but chances are she lost curiosity. You became emotionally predictable, and she felt like she'd already seen the whole movie. So here's your wake-up call. Stop trying to be her comfort zone. Start being her curiosity zone. You don't have to be mysterious in a manipulative way. You just have to live a life that keeps evolving. Show her new sides of yourself. Stay grounded but unpredictable. Be reliable, but not routine. Because mystery isn't about hiding. It's about revealing slowly. And that's something most men don't do because they're afraid she'll lose interest if they don't give her everything up front. But that's the opposite of how attraction works. The slower she discovers you, the deeper she invests. So if you want to keep a woman's attention, stop being so easy to figure out. Let her feel like there's always more to uncover. Because the moment she believes she's discovered everything about you, she'll stop looking. Keep her guessing. Not because you're playing games, but because you're still growing. And that's the kind of mystery that doesn't fade. 4. Authentic praise versus empty flattery. Let's be real for a second. Most compliments men give women sound the same. You're beautiful. You look amazing. You're so pretty. Now, there's nothing wrong with those words, but here's the problem. They don't stand out. They don't move her emotionally because she's heard them 100 times before. From strangers online, from coworkers, from men trying to get her attention without understanding her mind. And that's the real issue. Flattery is cheap, but authentic praise, that's rare. And women can tell the difference in a heartbeat. See, here's what most men don't realize. The female brain is wired to detect emotional sincerity. When you say something to her, she's not just processing the words, right? She's reading your tone, your eye contact, your timing, your body language. She's scanning for alignment between what you say and what you feel. That's why the same compliment can either make her heart race or make her feel absolutely nothing. It's not about the phrase that you lost, it's about the truth behind it. Let's break it down. When you give a woman empty flattery, you're usually trying to get something: attention, approval, maybe even attraction. And that intention leaks through. It feels transactional. It doesn't land. But when you give authentic praise, when you notice something specific, something subtle, something that tells her you are actually paying attention, it hits differently. Because now it's not about what you want, it's about what you see. For example, instead of saying, "You look beautiful," you might say, "There's something about the way you talk about things you care about." It's like your whole energy changes. That's not just a compliment, that's validation. You're telling her, "I see the real you," not just the presentation. Psychologically, authentic praise taps into something called emotional recognition bias, the human need to feel seen and understood. Studies show that when people feel genuinely recognized, their brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone linked to bonding and trust. That means the right words said with real presence don't just make her smile, they literally change how her brain associates you. Here's the irony, though. Men often overcompensate. They throw too many compliments, hoping one will stick. But what happens? It starts to sound like noise. You're better off saying one real thing that hits deeply than 10 surface-level things that fade instantly. Let me give you an example. If she changes her hairstyle and you say, "Wow, you look good," that's flattery. If you say, "That new style really fits your energy," it's bold, that's praise. You've linked her physical change to her personality, and that shows emotional perception, something women find irresistibly attractive. Authentic praise also requires timing. You can't force it and you can't make it sound rehearsed. It's not about saying something nice. It's about feeling something genuine and letting it show naturally. The moment you start complimenting from a place of authenticity instead of expectation, she feels it. Now, here's the hard truth. Some men struggle to give genuine compliments because they're disconnected from their own emotions. You can't recognize depth in others if you're emotionally numb yourself. So if you're the kind of guy who's always afraid to sound too emotional, understand this. Emotional awareness doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. Women can spot emotional honesty a mile away. They're drawn to it not because it's romantic, but because it's rare. Now let's talk about the opposite. Over-flattery. When you constantly tell a woman how perfect she is, she doesn't feel special. She feels pressure. It comes off like you're idealizing her, not seeing her. Authentic praise, on the other hand, accepts her flaws while appreciating her essence. It's about connection, not convincing. Let's say she's stressed about something and you tell her, "Well, you always handle things better than you think you do." That's powerful because it's grounded in empathy, not performance. You're not trying to make her happy. You're reminding her of her strength. That's what women remember. That's what sticks. Here's what I want you to take away. Stop complimenting her beauty. Start complimenting her being. Stop trying to impress. Start observing. Flattery says, "I want you to like me." Praise says, "I already like you for who you are." And that difference changes everything. Because when you learn how to express admiration from a grounded, honest place, when your words reflect awareness instead of agenda, she doesn't just hear you, she feels safe with you. And emotional safety, once again, leads to attraction. So the next time you want to make a woman's heart respond, don't try to impress her. Understand her. Don't tell her who she is. Remind her of what she already knows deep down. That's the kind of praise that builds real chemistry. And that's how you make her feel desired, not just seen. Let me say something that might sting a little. Most men today don't actually want to understand women. They just want shortcuts to attraction, tricks, lines, formulas. But attraction isn't built in the gym mirror or in your bank balance or in your next alpha move. It's built in how emotionally awake you are. Here's the controversial truth. Women aren't complicated. They're just responding to a world full of emotionally disconnected men. And when you finally learn how to be grounded, calm, and present, when you can combine strength with empathy, you instantly stand out. Because most guys never evolve past ego. Think about that. You can chase validation, or you can become validation. You can keep complaining that women don't want nice guys, or you can realize they don't want insecure ones pretending to be nice. The energy of self-assuredness, quiet, firm, emotionally aware, that's what psychologically turns a woman on and keeps her coming back. So here's my challenge to you. Start showing up differently. Stop talking about what you'll do. Start being it. Because when your energy feels like peace instead of pressure, everything changes. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 6 psychological triggers do you feel you've been missing? Or maybe you've seen one work in your life? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one and might even feature a few in an upcoming video. Let's talk about it, yeah. Because the truth is, understanding women starts with understanding yourself. And that's where the real attraction begins.